Hi everyone, Lydia here in the USG Sheetrock brand studio. And today we're going to be talking about something maybe a little controversial, might get you a little riled up, depending on where you lie in this debate. But we're going to be talking about paper versus mesh tape. And I really feel like people are always like, this is the best or this is the best. And you know, I'm going to have to break it to you, this is the superior tape. When it comes down to testing, paper tape tests better, has better strength, and it performs better in the long run. Now, it's not that mesh tape is bad. Mesh tape just has to have its strength from hot mud, easy sand, Durabond, plaster, something along those lines, because mesh tape itself is not strong. So when we look at mesh tape, let's see if I can find the end. Oh, I found, okay, that was lucky. It usually takes a while. So when you look at mesh tape in and of itself, it's sticky, like that'll stick, it'll stay. So I think a lot of people pick this tape because it's easier to work with. You can go ahead and do all of your flats and your butts, get all of your tape laid out, and then come back over the top with your easy sand or your Durabond. Now, when we look at it though, it's really weak. Like it comes apart really easily, it bends like crazy. There is literally like no strength in this tape. And that's where I think the problems lie, because people don't, number one, apply this correctly. They're not using it correctly. And if there's a lot of stress on joints, this is just gonna crack like straight down the center or the middle. I have walked into many jobs that have had major cracking issues. And when you start cutting things out and actually getting down to the root of the problem, majority of the time, it's gonna be this mesh tape right here. It just does not have the strength to hold. It can be fast for one-day finishing. If you are doing anything with small repairs, like we will use this on things that are in non-stress areas. So if we are patching a hole, we will use mesh tape. If we are going around an outlet and trying to tidy that up, we will use mesh tape. If, you know, somebody put a fist through something, or, you know, a kid like hit a wall with a baseball bat in the middle of the wall, this is fine. It's because that spot's not really going to be holding any of the tension like a flat or a butt is. You should not and do not use this in angles. It does not go in angles. It just is not made for that. You put it in there and the whole thing is just going to rip and tear right down the center, because there is no crease with this. And it's just not very nice to work with in angles, period. It's just, it won't lie down nicely and you will get all these frayed edges. You know, I'm not gonna like say mesh tape is the worst thing in the world. It just has its place. And when we look at paper tape is much stronger. Like it's not doing this bending, it's not doing this tearing apart. It's paper, but it's paper that has little tiny holes in it that's made to absorb the mud and the compounds. Paper tape you can use with either. You can use it with easy sand, you can use it with Durabond, or you can use it with a taping mud. Mesh tape cannot be used with any sort of taping mud or all-purpose or anything like that. It just will fail. It won't hold it well enough, because these two together are strong. So we have our glue and then our tape. Paper tape does have a fold straight down the center, does have a crease there, so it makes it perfect for working in angles, because you can go ahead and crease it and fold it. So if you are doing any sort of one-day finishing, or you are pairing mesh with, you know, you're just using mesh, make sure that you are using paper tape in your angles, mesh on your flats or butts. Paper is just a lot easier to work with. A misconception I feel like with paper is people think it's hard because they are not thinning their mud down enough. So when I'm using this, my mud is thin. I am not using straight out of the box mud. And I can't tell you the amount of times people have been like, you have to wet the tape. Do not be wetting this. This does not need to be soaking in a bucket to be able to spread on the wall. What you need to be doing is you need to be thinning your mud down instead of putting water on your tape. Because essentially when you're putting wet tape on it, you're just thinning your mud down anyway. So just skip that step and that hassle and just go ahead and use this with thinner mud. It will work out so much better for you. When you are applying this tape compared to mesh tape, so mesh tape, you can string out all your mesh and then you can mud over the top of it. When you are doing paper, you're going to be putting your mud on first and then laying your paper tape over it. And I think that's kind of where people struggle, because this does not adhere without enough mud behind it. So when you are using this, make sure you're putting adequate mud behind the tape. So just like with school, when we would glue construction paper to construction paper, same type of a thing. Our mud is gonna be our glue holding this to the wall. So USG has done some pretty extensive testing with this. They found that paper tape is stronger in compression, silical, and shear strength. So compared to mesh, this outperforms every day, all day. So definitely keep that in mind when you are working on a project, whether it be a full job or it's just a little bit of home repair. This might be a little bit trickier to work with, but once you get it, it's gonna give you a much better product. Another thing to keep in mind is the mesh tape cannot go through automatic tools. You cannot run this through an automatic taper, banjo, any of that stuff. It just won't work. It'll just get completely frayed. And you do need to be careful with how you're cutting this. You don't wanna have any of these big frayed edges. And you wanna try to get rid of any loose strings because they will just cause you problems later, but then you kind of start getting those frayed edges there. So when you kind of get down to it and you start working with these two, the pros prefer paper, hands down, I gotta say, and then mesh here and there for some small stuff. But I'm sorry if you're a big mesh fan, it's just not worth it. It's not worth the time, not worth the hassle. Paper all the way with either mud. This guy though has to go with easy sand, and make sure you're using it properly because it absolutely will come back and crack on you majorly. Anyway, that's it for me, and hope you guys have a great week. You can catch me on all the socials, as always, under Drywall Shorty, and have a great day.